jump slow motion, slow motion, slow motion. I want you to listen me, girl, don't you disobey. Waste your time, me hypnotize me when you wind that way. Slow that thing down, slow that thing down. That's slow motion. I want your feet, curve up your body, girl, wine on it. Don't waste time, girl, grind on it. Smile on it, smile on it. Lord, wine up your body, girl, grind on it. Don't waste time, girl, slide on it. Smile on it, smile on it. Ah yeah, slow motion, wine go down. Shake it like way you do it and slow motion. Jack it one side, take your time, internalize slow motion. Wine go down, time feet party people jump slow motion, slow motion.
WEFM, the new fresh sound.
WhatsApp us or call us at 457-9997. Activated Mornings on WEFM 99.9 is on now.
And the time right now, SVG, it is 8:46. And this time on a Monday morning, it means that we are going to hear commentary from Doc. All right. So, Doc, what's on your thoughts this morning?
Yes. Well, we got a little distracted in the beginning talking about policy. And you had a nice question that you were going to raise about Little Tokyo, right? And the Leeward bus stand and all that sort of stuff. And I had liked that because it would have segue into what I wanted to comment on this morning related to the port. And, you know, I want to start off by saying that there's been some discussion that a new port as part of port modernization, right, should not have been done, and what should have been done instead was the repair of the old port, rehabilitated, labeled at something like $20 million from an estimate done almost 10 years ago. In other words, the updated estimate, you don't know if it would have been 30, 40 million or so. But I liken this discussion to a discussion we had almost 25 years ago. At the end of...
Who's it we? Vincent Johnson?
At the end of the NDP, the NDP went into chaos. I remember John Horn was one of those who led a discussion and a debate that we should have a new airport at a site called Kitchen or Argyle, whereas Mitchell was saying he was going to extend Arnesville Airport to Rock Nancy for $100 million, and that doing an airport at Kitchen or at Argyle was going to be too expensive, and he had $100 million in his back pocket to use for that new Arnesville extension. And so the debate came up. Should we extend Arnesville at a lower price to Rock Nancy and have what's called a jet port, or was there a need for an international airport at some other location that might have cost more? And people were saying, but what about debt? Finding the additional monies and so forth to do an international airport versus a simple jet port. And the jet port would have allowed companies like American Eagle to land here, but it would not have allowed Virgin. It would not have allowed Air Canada. It would not have allowed any of these other entities because those planes were too large and needed a full-fledged international airport. Fast forward to 2016. An international airport was completed at Argyle at a higher cost that The contributions from various countries left St. Vincent after some debt forgiveness from Venezuela with less than $120 million owing on an airport that costs over 750 million EC dollars to build and was valued over a period of time at close to $2 billion based on the contribution it got. What I'm saying is that for those individuals who still believe that Arnesville should have been extended meant that we could not have had the ITIL festival yesterday. You understand? Meant that we basically could not have had lighting at Arnesville playing field with floodlights being put up there. Meant that we could not have had the food court and other shopping areas and the massive expansion. Meant that we could not have had the acute referral hospital at Arnesville that it is there today. In other words, so a simple decision to go for something that would get more so. What has happened with Aga International Airport, it has fueled the arrival of sandals, the arrival of 5 planes on several days a week with massive increases in hotel arrivals, jobs being created, and now the prospects of new hotels like beaches and so forth. So I said I start off with a basis. So now let's go on to the port. The port, on the other hand, some persons say, similar to Argyle and extension of Arnesville to Rock Nancy to get a jet port, we should have just done some simple repairs to the old Kingston port and so on. But what they don't realize is that the repairs of the old Kingston port would have meant the closure of that port and everything being done at Camden Park. But Camden Park had some serious restrictions in terms of the amount of boats that would get into the harbor, it being a smaller harbor. It also, the berth, in terms of how much ships could arrive there and so forth, and all the attendant problems of being able to offload. When I used to be minister, I was very taken by a World Bank assessment of doing business in a world. And St. Vincent at one point in time was ranked very much higher because we had certain attributes. But one of the things we were never able to improve was our World Bank ranking on what happens at our port. The speed with which you offload. If 3 boats come in, a car boat and so forth, what space do you have? How much are you able to do? Now, I want to point out by that simple measure of building a new port, what it does. You know, 1, it increases the space that you have. We had something called 1,200 TEUs. We're going to 2,400. I'll go into the detail. In terms of the shipping cost of being able to move, offload things very, very quickly could save you 28.95 TEUs removed from the price of goods. The fact that stuff was landing at Camden Park, there was additional cost of $67.28 for each container added to goods, having to convert it and transport it into town, plus the attendant traffic problems. The old port in terms of the amount of acres and so forth. But the important thing was that the new port was going to take 52 months to build and completed in March of 2024. Yes, it was supposed to be completed since last year. Now, loans, did you know that we have received some, and I'll do this in both US, 110 million US dollars in loans from CDB, which is 298 million EC dollars. Did you know there was a grant at 0% interest rate of 32.4 million EC dollars? That's 88 million EC dollars, a grant. And then another counterpart funding grant from Taiwan of 42 million. The average interest rate is about 1.2% interest rate. You know, now what has this done? It means that large boats coming through the Panama Canal can now land at Port Kingstown, the new Port Kingstown. And the modernization of offloading, things could be offloaded very quickly at significant savings of goods. That Kingstown Port doesn't have to be closed at great cost. That the cost of relocating persons from Bottomtown to Lomans and doing the environmental issues and studies of the sewage system, getting it more out to sea and not contaminating our water inshore was very important. But the more important thing is that this reduced cost of shipping, of bulk shipping, and the efficiency of offloading can be a significant cost saving in our good. But what's more important, just like what I mentioned with Annesville, the movement from the old port frees up almost 8 acres of land for other development. We made a critical mistake also by building a cruise ship terminal that could only take one boat. Maybe let's say 1.5 boats, which is essentially one boat. And that now, the same old Kingston port, which you can now fix, you still have to fix it, can be used to accommodate almost 3 or 4 tourist ships, further enhancing. What Dianna would have been happy about is the whole cultural aspect of boardwalks and shops and other things that's created on this 8-acre old plot. Cultural performances and so forth. It's going to be significant. Now, cutting it all short in view of the time, the new prospects for Kingstown of making Kingstown a modern city really is consistent with it leaving it in the old doldrums of just simply repairing the old port. Or that we could have just had a jet port and say, we're okay, we are fine. But the prospects that have come and has been shown to develop can, at Argyle, and its spill-off effects can certainly be translated to Kingstown, that Kingstown becomes a real modern city and helps take St. Vincent into a new era that's been proclaimed, where we are of a first world status rather than an old world status. Let me stop here on that particular note. Yeah, how much time did I go over time? How much time I went over?
No, you're not over time. But you know what I listen to, the wheels in my brain are always turning. All right, so
yes.
But my thing though, Doc, and this is not even just in relation to politics, right? Because okay, yes, the new port was needed. I think many persons might have been in agreement with that. Don't make any facial expression. Just keep your face bland for a moment. Let me finish what I have to say because I don't see your facial expression.
You're soaking up time. Allow my muscles,
right,
my face to
your
move.
muscles not relaxed. That is what is the problem.
Yeah,
There we go. All right. So I don't think it was necessarily a case where persons, let's say, had objections to the new port being constructed. Was it more a case of us taking on another debt? And were we ready to take on another debt? Hold on, right? But for me, why it is that I said that I want to extend this past politics, because is it a case where for the mindset of many of us as Vincentians, we are afraid to take on risk? Is this something that we are faced with and we are challenged with, and not just in the scale, not just in terms of politics, because yes, it may take this one person with a vision. And there are times when I do have to hand it to the PM that he is a visionary in that sense. However, you can also understand you can also understand the comments of persons where it seems like we are piling debt onto debt. All right. But it does extend, and is it the case where we need to possibly change the mindset of our people, create the facilities for them so that if you have a goal, if you have a vision, that you should not be afraid to take that chance. Is it something that we need to extend past politics?
You know something? In any world, any culture, there are people who will take risk and get into business, and there are people who will settle for taking a salary for working for that business.
Okay.
Let me say this. You can't get everybody to go into their business to open up their own Marby shop, right? Or their own rum shop. Therefore, nobody will buy Marby and rum, you know, from each other. The point I'm making is that I am bringing you a very good example that Rock Nancy versus Argyle has shown a good decision was made that has ripple effects. Now, what I was trying to emphasize here was that the loan you got, and this is the mistake people don't say, they look at the macro issues of, I got a loan, but what was the interest rate of that loan? What is the payback terms? Do you have a 5-year grace period? In other words, we won't be able, we won't start paying back on a loan for another 2 years. I'm making the point, right? Now, what I'm saying is that look not just at the money you're borrowing. Look at the interest rate. Look at the purpose you're borrowing it for, but also look at the spill-off secondary effects that you could gain from it. So, assess all those things.
Right. So this is exactly what my point is, right? Many times we target, we criticize, we judge persons who may not be able to see the long-term vision. But is it the case where we need to be able to inculcate in our own individuals, in our own citizens, that sometimes you have to take a risk for the long-term development? Because you
don't have to.
Because
it's good if you do it.
You recognize that because you speak out against, let's say, the airport, against the port, that you are against the project.
No.
Whereas it might just be a simple case of persons not understanding
making decisions.
The long-term benefits, because it's not something that's ingrained in us as a society.
But no,
that risk
it is ingrained in us. I'm telling you, it is ingrained in us.
I don't think it is.
It is ingrained. Listen,
many persons do not want to take the risk because nobody necessarily wants to find themselves in
the mistake you're making
debt.
is that you want 100% compliance. You want everybody to say yes. It's good if you have that. There are people who will tell you no.
But then however, why are they saying no? What is the basis for saying no?
Listen, you need to. The point is that with some decisions in your life and in your family, there are people who will tell you, sit down, relax, do nothing. And there are people who will tell you, get up and get. You need sufficient people around you to tell you, get up and get. You don't have to have everybody convincing you to get up and get. So the point I'm making is that you, in this kind of scenario, going ahead with something like this, you need the majority of persons to say yes. You don't have to have everybody.
All right, but I'm looking at the origins or the genesis, sir.
The genesis.
Hi, caller, good morning. Of why some persons may think the way they do. Caller, good morning.
Hi, good morning. How are you?
We good.
Right. I think it's the first time I'm calling into this program.
Okay.
I need no reason to hide my name. My name is Grant Connell.
Yes, recognize
you
your
may
voice.
or may not know me.
Oh, Grant, I read you.
Grant, just drew my attention to something that was said on WEFM.
Oh, I listen. I did some kind of defensive.
Very, very, very belittling, somewhat uncouth, and at variance with how Grant Connell operates.
Yes. Well, I was
told that Dr. Thompson said that we have to be careful when people record you and you're having a casual conversation.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I am more than free to release this video, which I have not to anyone. I can give it to you.
I think you want to do that. I think you want to do that.
Exactly what I said.
Yeah, but I
making
think
Dr. Thompson aware that I am recording you.
Yeah.
I asked you a specific question, and we were joking with Luke from Hot FM.
Yes.
And I asked you a specific question about the political arena.
That's right.
And I told you I was recording you.
I didn't know you were recording me.
After you said you were recording, I said, Dr. Thompson, I told you that. And I continued.
Well, obviously, I didn't know you were recording me.
Continue to say what you have to say.
Yes, I didn't know.
I think it is very, very misleading.
But I didn't know
you go on national radio on Monday.
Yeah.
And say that.
Yeah, I didn't know you were recording me.
My name and my integrity.
Yeah.
Very high on my agenda.
Yes. Well, I tell you something. I tell you something. Well, Grant, I didn't.
If WEFM wants to, I can release the video to them. They can review it. They can hear what I said.
Yeah.
And you would apologize on the same.
I'm not going to apologize to you. I'm not going to apologize on that. But the point about it is that I said it because I think it was actually done quite deliberately. And I did not hear you say you were recording me. It's only when I noticed the phone there. You may have said you were recording me, but basically, why would you record me? Why? For what reason? We're having a casual conversation. Why would you record me? You know what I mean? If people are having casual conversation, you slip in, I'm recording you. I didn't hear that. And so once you said, when I sort of, are you recording me? I showed my objection. And therefore, that should not have been the case. And basically, if I am being recorded, I want it to be clearly stated up front. You may have said it and thought that I acknowledged it and so forth, but that's not the case. And that's why I mentioned it, because I think that you do want to release that and put it out and so forth. And that, I think, is unfair. Is
it something that you have objections to being released, though?
I tell you something. I don't think it's an issue. I don't think it's an issue because
the general conversation is
the same comments. It's the same comments you and I had this morning in relation to predictions as is going to the outcome of the election. I was going into some little detail. And I think the position I'm in, I want to be very careful because these things could be used to create controversy. You see everybody posting little things, little clips, and they frame it in one particular way, and they leave out the context of what was said before and what they said, what context of what's said after. So I have serious objection to that. And that's why I mentioned it this morning. And as I mentioned it, I'm a person, I'm always very careful with names, but I wanted to mention a name. I was hoping he would actually hear it, and I'm glad that there has been that response to its aired. So people know that I basically objected to it. And once I told him, I didn't know. He said, I told you I'm recording. But why would he's a reporter? So why would he be recording me? You know what I mean? Why would he be recording me if you release her? When you were out there at the ITIL Festival, I thought you initially out there on assignment or so. But what was he recording? Was somebody recording you for and so forth in a general conversation? I'm usually very, very careful because, as you talk and if you get into man talk and simple talk and other things like that, there are things that you could say as a joke that will be misinterpreted, All
right. Well, that's he heard you didn't hear conversation, so I can't.
But he admitted it.
On it, so.
He admitted it. Yeah. He admitted that I basically would have said, that I didn't know he was recording me, and he's saying, "But I told you I was recording." I never got that.
Well, that's what I'm saying. He's saying that you were aware, and now you're saying that.
But the point, if he is somebody who wears a journalist badge, and that he is doing an interview with you, and that this is an interview. I've been interviewed before. People
are
interviewing me.
Well, I guess it means that whatever y'all were talking about was really spicy.
No, it was not necessarily spicy. I was predicting that the ULP was going to win and starting off and talking, saying that they're going to win simply on the basis of what's going to happen in North Windward, and that all the other seats are going to be brought and added to the process. And I finally said it was going to be a 12-3. Not necessarily I'm stating officially 12-3, but that's how I ended with him, and he walked away.
12-3?
Yeah. I ended.
Nobody y'all having that's an interesting conversation.
No. I deliberately ended. I deliberately ended because I think what he was hoping I would go into some further detail, and therefore I would throw certain people under the bus and so forth, and say this seat and that seat and so forth.
But 12-3 is not though, Doc.
Well,
but anyways,
put this in. He could air it, and he might do. He told me he was going to air it, right? And as a result, that's why I came on this morning and also made a statement on it, because he told me he was going to air it. And here he's offering that he could send it to WEFM, but I'm pretty sure he's going to offer it to other radio stations as well. But I don't mind.
Yeah, well, let's not add that part because we just never know, right? You might just send it to WEFM alone.
But on the topics, I'm trying to say, you do not have to have 100% of people totally convinced.
And I agree with that. But as I said, it's the origins where many persons, I'm not sure how many Vincentians
don't put down Vincentians like that.
Hold on.
Don't put down Vincentians.
I am not sure how many Vincentians are able to, especially when it comes to large debts. We used to the debts such as home, etc. But in terms of piling on debt after debt, I am not sure.
But you see how you're doing, piling on debt after debt. I am putting it to you. If you could understand what happened with the Argyle International Airport.
I understand that there was a long-term benefit. Yes,
not only that, the level
that.
of debt forgiveness. We were able, if you had a house being sold to you, and the house is valued at a certain amount, and you get it for literally 10-20% of its cost, you would say, nah, that's 20% is still too much. I am not going through with it. You basically could look at the equity you have in it and the what you will be able to do with it. Last year, the Argyle Airport made $4 million in profit, recorded profit. So basically, you got to look at it from a different standpoint of your interest rate. You have to look at really what are the spill off, how much are your returns going to be, and don't let anybody tell you from the starting point, it's called debt. Hate debt. Run from afraid debt.
The point that I'm making is
you don't know how to say the afraid butt, afraid horn. Don't say you're afraid debt and so forth.
I believe that many Vincentians are risk averse, which is why when there are certain projects that come into place, that there are many challenges put forward because we do not have that understanding of what the long-term benefits may be.
I think I want to agree with you. I think there are many Vincentians who are risk adverse, but there are many Vincentians who are taking it. You are a young entrepreneur, and there are other persons. When I saw out at the ITIL Fest, there are people who are willing to invest in little things, big things, and so forth, and I love it. That's the point.
All righty, folks. Usual Monday morning with Doc and I. And we are well over time. So, yes, let's head directly into today's ECCB currency exchange rates.
Nothing else sounds as good as WEFM.